Hello dear students, how are you all? This is Praful and I welcome you all to your very own channel that is nothing but One Page Biology. So in today's video, I am going to discuss another very important question which has appeared in NEET 2019 biology paper. So are you guys ready for the same? So let me read the question for you all. The question is, match the following structures with their respective location in organs. Let me read the options. Crypts of Libercone, glycans of capsule, islets of Langerhans and Brunner's glands. On the other side, the options are pancreas, duodenum, small intestine and liver. So dear students, in this particular question we have to match the right options. We have to match basically on the left side, dear students, we have been given certain structures like crypts of Libercone, glycans capsule or islets of Langerhans, and we have to match accordingly. Basically these structures belong to which particular organ or which particular gland. So it's a match the column type of a question. So let's see, dear students, whether we are able to answer this question. So dear students, before actually finding out the answer of this question, we need to understand different structures which are part of the alimentary canal. And when we understand the different structures of alimentary canal, then I'm pretty much sure that you guys will be able to answer this question very easily. So dear students, let me ask you this particular question. What can you see on the screen right now? There is some J-shaped organ which is present on the screen, right? So can you guess which organ is this? Yes, my dear students, this organ is nothing but the stomach. Dear students, yes, it is extremely important organ. Why? Because whatever food we are eating in, who is helping it in digesting it? Of course, the answer is stomach. There are other parts of the alimentary canal also which are going to help in digestion. But one of the most important organs which helps in basically crushing the food, it's like a grinder of our body, dear students. You must have seen the mixer in our regular household. What does the mixer do in our household? Especially when our mom makes chutneys and all. So what is the job of that mixer? The mixer helps in making a fine paste. That is something which we love eating it. The same way, dear students, in our body, the stomach actually helps in grinding the food, whatever we are eating it, and it converts the same into a fine paste. So let us first understand the structure of stomach. Dear students, stomach is divided into three basic parts. What are the three basic parts of stomach? Come on, very quickly. These are nothing but the upper region is known as cardiac, the middle portion is known as fundus, and the lower portion is known as pyloric. Let me repeat again. Can you repeat with me, guys? The first is nothing but cardiac, the second is known as the fundus, and the third is known as pyloric. Let me show you each of them individually. Now dear students, you can see the first structure which is known as the cardiac region. What is this particular region? Now dear students, the food pipe which enters into the stomach, right? So for example, when we eat the food, where is it going? It's going inside the food pipe, that is from the mouth. Once we put the food in the mouth region, we chew it, we mix it with the saliva, it becomes a fine paste which is called as bolus, and then we swallow it. Once we swallow it, it is entering in our food pipe, the food pipe which is also known as esophagus, dear students. So once the food travels through the esophagus, then it enters subsequently into a J-shaped structure which we just now said, it is known as the stomach. So the first initial region which it enters through inside the stomach, the first region is known as the cardiac region, right? So this opening is in fact guarded by a specialized muscle, dear students, which is known as a sphincter muscle. We can also call it as a cardiac sphincter. So what is the job of that sphincter? Can you guess it? Dear students, this particular sphincter prevents the entry of food back into the food pipe. You know, like for example, there is a high chance that, you know, the food which has entered into the stomach, it might enter back into the food pipe. because of some reason. So this particular cardiac sphincter will prevent the food from entering back into the esophagus. So let's go ahead now. Going ahead, dear students, this is the next part of the stomach. What is the next part called? The part is called as fundus. Fundus is the upper dome-shaped structure of the stomach. The dome-shaped part, the upper, the roof of the stomach, it is called as the fundus, right? So dear students, the upper shape is called as the fundus. The third region, what is the third region? The third region is known as pyrolic region. So dear students, this is the region from where the food is actually going to enter into the next part of the alimentary canal. Can you guess what is the next part of the alimentary canal? It is nothing but small intestine. So the food is going to enter from stomach into the small intestine via the region which is known as pyloric region. Again, this particular opening is also guarded by a specialized muscle that is known as pyloric sphincter. Okay, so let me show you, dear students, that here, as I said, there are two sphincter muscles. One which is present at the beginning from where the food is entering into the stomach. Cardiac sphincter is going to prevent the food from entering back into the food pipe, right? At the same time, pyloric sphincter, which is present at the opening from where the food is actually going into the small intestine. So pyloric sphincter is going to prevent the food from entering back into the stomach, because from there the food is supposed to enter into the small intestine, right? From stomach, where is the food going to go? It is going to go into the small intestine. So once it goes into the small intestine, it shouldn't re-enter back into the stomach. So who is going to prevent the food from re-entering back into the stomach? The answer is pyloric sphincter. Note it down, dear students. Sphincters are nothing but special kind of muscles which are present inside the openings of our organs. Okay, now let's go ahead. So now, dear students, once the food enters from the stomach into the next part of the alimentary canal, which is again very, very important, which is known as small intestine. Dear students, we mammals basically are blessed with an extremely large intestine. In fact, our intestine is divided into two sections, that is small intestine and large intestine. In fact, we have a very, very long small intestine, and of course we also have a large intestine. So since we have a very long small intestine, dear students, basically the small intestine is divided into three particular regions, right? So let me name it for you all. The first region is known as duodenum. Then comes the middle portion of the small intestine, which is called as jejunum, and the third portion of the small intestine, it is called as basically ileum. Let us see one by one what is duodenum, what is jejunum, what is ileum. So dear students, the first part of the small intestine is called as duodenum. Why is it so important? The reason why is it important, because in this particular region, dear students, there is a very important duct which is entering, that is known as hepatopancreatic duct. What is this duct going to do in this particular region, that is duodenum? This particular duct is going to help in secretion of some important juices which are going to come from the pancreas and from the liver. And this juice which comes from the pancreas and from the liver, which is known as bile juice, is very, very important, because this is going to help in the digestion of food. The next part of the small intestine, which is basically the middle portion of the small intestine, it is called as jejunum. So dear students, you can see that this portion is the coiled part of the small intestine. Again, this is very, very important, because inside this portion the major process of digestion is going to take place. So there are many small finger-like projections inside this particular region, and these small finger-like projections, these are known as villi. And via these villi there is secretion of many digestive juices which contain many enzymes, and these enzymes actually help in the breakdown of different types of biomolecules which are present in our food, something like carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, etc. So whatever is present in the food, all is going to get broken down specifically in this particular region, right? So remember, this region has got many finger-like projections which are known as villi, and this villi sometimes are very commonly also called as the brush border, dear students. Now comes the third portion of the small intestine. Again, this is a highly coiled part, the highly coiled structure of the small intestine, and this is known as ileum. Okay, so the first portion was known as duodenum, the second portion of the small intestine was called as jejunum, and now comes the third portion, which is again a highly coiled portion of small intestine. It is known as ileum. So again, in the ileum, dear students, there is going to be secretion of lots and lots of digestive enzymes, and the food is going to get completely digested, completely. That means inside the ileum, once the food is completely digested, it is completely converted into simple absorbable form. That simple absorbable form, it is a liquid which is actually called as chyle, right, dear students? So this chyle is going to get absorbed from the small intestine via these villi, because inside the villi there are blood vessels which are present, and via these blood vessels the food is going to get absorbed and it's going to get assimilated. That means it is going to get transported to different tissues of our body. Now let's begin with the next part, dear students. Now the next portion comes is something called as the caecum. So now, as we said, that the small intestine basically consists of three parts. Those were nothing but duodenum, jejunum and the ileum. Now the small intestine continues further into the large intestine, but before it continues into a large intestine, there is a small structure which is present at the junction of small intestine and large intestine. So can you all see this small junction which has been highlighted in this particular diagram? So this small part which is present at the junction of small intestine and large intestine, dear students, this is known as caecum. Dear students, something which is very important is this caecum basically is non-functional in humans. It is also called as vermiform appendix. Now let's talk about the large intestine very quickly. Now, dear students, large intestine has three basic parts. Large intestine is also known as the colon. Secondly, it is much wider compared to small intestine. But dear students, let me tell you something which is very important about large intestine. Inside the large intestine, basically there is no digestion taking place, because all the food has been already digested in the small intestine. So in the large intestine, what actually happens is there is only and only absorption of minerals, water. So all the remaining undigested food which is still present in the large intestine is nothing but the waste which is present, and this particular waste has to be removed from the large intestine, dear students. And this waste is basically nothing but the feces. So the entire large intestine is basically divided into three parts. These are nothing but the ascending colon, the transverse colon and the descending colon. The name itself will help us in understanding the parts. Ascending means basically going in the upward direction. So from the small intestine, the food which has been undigested, once it enters into the ascending colon, the food is going to go in the upward direction. Then the food enters into the transverse colon, so that means it is going to move in the horizontal direction. And then finally the food is going to enter in the downward direction. So as we said that, dear students, inside the large intestine there is no digestion of food taking place. That means there is no breakdown of food, there is no secretion of digestive enzymes, there is only and only absorption of water and minerals inside the large intestine. So all the undigested food, which is nothing but the waste which has been formed now in the large intestine, is now going to go further and get basically collected inside the rectum. So rectum basically stores the undigested food of our body, the feces, or you can say the waste of the body. So once the undigested food gets collected inside the rectum, this is the part of the involuntary nervous system, that the involuntary nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, gets activated, and the reflex will come from the brain. That is, we start getting the urges to remove the waste from our body. And that's the reason, dear students, that most of the times in the morning, whenever we get up after basically 7 to 8 hours of sleep, we get the urge to remove the waste from our body, and this is part of our parasympathetic nervous system. So basically the brain is giving the signal to us that come on, the waste is now collected inside the rectum, and now it's the time to remove that waste from the body. So now finally from the rectum, the undigested food, that is the waste, is going to get removed, is going to get expelled out from the opening of the large intestine, which is nothing but the anus. Let me tell you, dear students, again this particular anus is again guarded by a sphincter muscle, and this sphincter is a voluntary sphincter. That means this sphincter can be controlled. So that's the reason why, dear students, it is possible to a certain level that the person can control the urge to remove the waste from his body, but it is never ever advisable to do so, because it might harm the sphincter muscle of the anus. So now, dear students, let me tell you the 4 basic layers of the alimentary canal. The 4 basic layers of the alimentary canal. So dear students, if you talk about the TS of the alimentary canal, what do we mean by TS? TS is nothing but the transverse section. TS is basically the transverse section. That means this is, suppose if this is the alimentary canal, and if you cut it in the transverse manner, and if you observe the layers inside this particular structure, within this particular structure, all that part will be easy for us to observe. So now talking about the TS of alimentary canal, that you can see 4 different layers inside the alimentary canal. How many layers? There are 4 different layers inside the alimentary canal. What are they? Let me tell you the names, dear students, starting from the outermost to the innermost. The outermost layer, let's suppose that this is the outermost, so this is the alimentary canal, and if you are going to go from outside to inside, let us see. The outermost layer is called as serosa. Then comes the layer below serosa, which is known as muscularis. Below muscularis there is something called as submucosa, and then below submucosa there is the innermost layer, which is known as mucosa. Each of these layers has got a different function, dear students. Let's see what are the functions. The outermost, that is the serosa. Dear students, serosa is important because the serosa is the outermost layer. It is made up of epithelial cells. As we all know that whether it is the inner organs or the external part of our body, it's always covered by epithelial cells. Epithelium. So epithelium helps in protection. The next layer, which is below serosa, known as muscularis. Here the muscularis in turn is made up of 2 types of muscles. The 2 muscles are nothing but the inner circular muscles and the outer longitudinal muscles. Can you see in this particular diagram? The one which is in the pink is the inner circular, and the outer one, it is shaded in the form of boxes. It is the outer longitudinal muscles. Both the muscles, they are going to help in the movement of the food inside the stomach, and that's how the food is going to get broken down into fine pieces. Ultimately, it is going to get converted into a paste. Okay, so remember that. Now going to the third layer, that is below muscularis. There's another layer which is known as submucosa. So the submucosal layer, dear students, is going to help in the secretion of mucus, which is going to protect the stomach from the harsh effect of HCl, which is also going to release inside the stomach, which helps in digestion. Now comes the innermost layer, which is known as the mucus, dear students. The mucus is extremely important because this layer is often divided into many folds, and the folds are known as villi. So now talking about the question which was asked, basically, right? So there were certain terms like crypts of Libacone, Glissen's capsule, Brunner's glands, etc., which was asked in the question. So let us try and see what are these structures and why are they important. First of all, crypts of Libacone. Dear students, as we said, the fourth layer of the wall of the alimentary canal, the innermost layer, what is it called? It's known as mucosa, which was divided into folds. The folds were known as villi. Why are the villi important? Because they contain blood vessels as well as lacteals, which help in the absorption of food. But between these villi, there are some U-shaped structures. The U-shaped structures, like the pits, they are known as the crypts of Libacone. These contain the digestive glands, dear students. Yes, we said intestine helps in digestion. The small intestine helps in the complete digestion of food. So who is going to help in digestion? The digestive glands, which are present inside the crypts of Libacone. Pancreas, another very important organ, a leaf-shaped organ present between the stomach and the small intestine. Can you see how lovely it is? Inside this pancreas are many cells which are known as islets of Langerhans. Islets means cluster. So these cells are of different types, the alpha cells, the beta cells, the delta cells. Let me tell you, pancreas is heterocrine in nature. Heterocrine means both endocrine as well as exocrine. Endocrine means it is basically helping in the secretion of hormones. Can you find out which hormone is being secreted by pancreas? Exocrine means it is going to help in the secretion of enzymes. It's going to secrete certain enzymes which are going to help in digestion. That means it is going to help in the secretion of hormones as well as the enzymes. It is dual in nature, dear students. Another important organ which is known as liver. Dear students, liver, extremely important organ. Why? Helps in secretion of bile juice. Bile juice contains bile pigments, bilirubin, biliverdin. At the same time, dear students, the bile juice is going to help in digestion because it's going to get secreted inside the duodenum of the small intestine. It's going to come out by the bile duct, which ultimately unites with the pancreatic duct. The common duct is known as hepatopancreatic duct. Coming to the question, there was something called as Glissen's capsule, which was mentioned in the question. What is that Glissen's capsule? Glissen is the name of the scientist. This is nothing but a covering of tissue. It's majorly the connective tissue. Helps in protection of liver. So remember Glissen's capsule? Yes, for protection. The last structure, which is known as the Brunner's gland. What is this Brunner's gland? Brunner, name of the scientist. Again, it is part of the submucosal layer of the small intestine and specifically the region which is known as duodenum. Duodenum. And inside the duodenum, dear students, the submucosal layer consists of the specialized glands which are known as Brunner's glands, and these Brunner's glands help in the secretion of mucus. The Brunner's gland, which are present in the submucosal layer of the duodenum, are going to protect the small intestine from the harsh effect of the acid which is going to be released by the stomach. So now, my dear students, now can you answer the question which had appeared in the NEET examination? Can you attempt to answer this question? What was the question? Let me read it for you all again. The question was, match the following: crypts of Libocune, Glissen's capsule, islets of Langerhans, Brunner's glands. You have to tell accordingly these structures are present in which of the organs. I am sure you will be able to answer this question. Let me answer this for you all. Crypts of Libocune. Of course, crypts of Libocune is present in the small intestine. Remember those U-shaped structures. Glissen's capsule, just now we said the covering of the liver. Protection, dear students, mainly for the protection of liver. Islets of Langerhans, pancreas, right, consists of alpha cells, beta cells, helps in the secretion of hormones. Brunner's glands, duodenum, protection of the small intestine from the harsh effect of the acid which is released by the stomach. So I hope you understood the part of the alimentary canal, majorly the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, and of course you understood this particular question, and now you know the answer of this question. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please put it in the comment section. If you have understood the concept, dear students, please like, share and subscribe to Onepagebiology. I really need your support, dear students. If you want me to discuss any particular topic or any particular question related to biology, let me know in the comment section. You can also mail me on my email ID which I have put in the description box. Please follow me on my Instagram as well as Facebook page. The name is Onepagebiology. See you all in the next video, guys, with some another important question. Till that time, take care. Bye bye. Keep studying. Enjoy yourself. Thank you so much. Bye bye, guys. Take care of yourself. Bye.